Welcome to All Things Heart. Before we get to our regularly scheduled topic today, we want to share our COVID count because we are seeing a jump in cases. This week's number of active inpatients went up to 33. Last week we were at 19. Dr. Dana Hawkinson reported on Monday that 7 of those patients are in the ICU, so we will continue updating you each week when we see our numbers rise like this.
From the University of Kansas Health System.
I am amazed. The team here is great.
I came on a Tuesday, and then by Saturday, I had a heart in me.
I have never seen a group of people work together so good as this team of heart specialists. I mean, it's just unreal.
Stand by to set up show.
And the Dolph C. Simons Jr. Family Broadcast Studio.
Roll it.
Always makes you feel like you're the most important patient on the planet.
I felt heard, and that was really big.
This is All Things Heart.
Good morning. Welcome to All Things Heart. I'm Alexis Del Cid. The holiday season is a great time for giving and for gratitude for all the gifts and blessings that we've received. But for Archie Moore, that gift is incredibly remarkable. Someone gave Archie the gift of life, a new heart, on Christmas Eve 2022. That's when she got the call she'd been dreaming of. Her new heart was ready, and her care team needed her in surgery as soon as possible.
Would you prefer it in your arm or your belly?
You can do the arm.
Archie Moore is not used to being a patient,
Well done.
but she has spent plenty of time with the patients here at the University of Kansas Health System. For 28 years, this is where Archie worked every day as a nurse before retiring in 2020.
I knew I'd be in good hands. This is the one place I always wanted to come if something dire happened to me.
And dire it was. About a year after retiring, Archie noticed something was wrong with her heart. But looking back, she says the signs had been there for a few years.
Shortness of breath for one. It even got to the point where I could not go up steps.
Life went on like that until she had an episode too frightening to ignore.
Almost like a panic attack.
Except Archie says she couldn't breathe, and she knew.
My heart, it was going into heart failure.
A few weeks later, she says doctors at the University of Kansas Health System placed her on the transplant waiting list. The holidays were strange, so many unknowns. Archie was determined to have a nice Christmas with her family.
I have 13 grandchildren, so it was Christmas Eve, and our tradition is kind of to have a pajama party. And the call came in, and I looked at the number.
They had a heart for Archie, who, of course, felt every joyful emotion you could imagine, along with profound sadness at the same time.
I felt overjoyed for one, and then I kind of went to the other end and felt sad because I knew somebody had died to have this privilege to get this heart. I didn't know the circumstances, but I knew somebody had to pass it along, definitely out of love, for me to be able to receive that at that particular moment.
And on this day, as she prepares to be discharged to go home to her family with her new heart and her new chance at her wonderful life, she has another feeling that Archie says will forever be part of her.
I am forever grateful. Every moment, every day I wake up and open my eyes, I will be forever, ever grateful. And Christmas will never be the same.
We are so happy to have Archie joining us virtually this morning alongside her amazing daughter, Tidra. Thank you both for being here. And here in the studio, we have the surgeon who performed Archie's transplant, Dr. Matt Danter. Dr. Danter is the surgical director of cardiac transplant and mechanical circulatory support. I want to see your business card later on here at the health system. And we're also joined by Jan Caldwell. Jan is a nurse practitioner. Jan is on the advanced heart failure team. She played a key role in Archie's treatment, recovery, and emotional support, which is critical to patient care. But I want to start with Archie because Archie, when we first interviewed you a little over a year ago, you had just gotten your new heart. How are you feeling today as we approach the year anniversary?
Fantastic. Still grateful. Fantastic. Still kind of feels surreal, but fantastic.
Fantastic. is what we like to hear. Teidra, what's the biggest change you've seen in your mom over the course of the year?
She's all over the place. We never sit down. She wants to go here. She wants to go there. She wants me to park far away from the door so she can walk. She's taking her health and her heart serious.
And that's what doctors and caregivers love to hear, that you're taking it seriously, doing everything right. Got to talk about how you were a nurse here at the health system for decades. Everyone knows you as a fantastic nurse. And we see this quite a bit when you notice the troubling signs in you with stairs and walking and you having difficulty. Things you normally would tell a patient to go to the doctor right away for, you put off. Why was that?
For one, I think it was kind of the nature of the person, of who I am, always denying self. And then two, I thought it was mainly related to the weight, because I was significantly heavier at that point in time too. And then I contributed to breathing, because I had been using a CPAP prior, but just, I don't know, self-denial.
I want to bring Jan in here because you're nodding your head, and often with ourselves we can't see the forest from the trees. Is that the case as well, that you see as what you do?
So I think it's two things. It's being a nurse, we take care of everybody else, and then as a female, you take care of your family, your husband, your kids, and we put ourselves last. So as a female nurse, it's twofold. So I think I feel like that's where Archie was.
Sure, so. She's spent her whole life taking care of everyone. What were the biggest notices what were the biggest things you noticed when you first saw Archie?
So when I met Archie, she was significantly short of breath. As she said, just walking from the bed to the restroom was a challenge. And her heart was very weak, so she was struggling.
Did you know that with her symptoms, did you automatically know she's in heart failure?
Yes, I did. I could tell. Well, first of all, we got the echocardiogram, which showed her heart was not pumping well. But then just meeting her, talking to her, seeing how symptomatic she was, it was putting it all together.
She was in advanced heart failure.
She was.
So
yes.
How poorly was her heart functioning? Did you have a...
So the echocardiogram, I believe, was a normal ejection fraction or pump squeeze of the heart is about 55 to 60. Archie was about 10 to 15%.
Oh, wow.
Not very, very little pump squeeze action.
So I also want to ask you about this because Archie began her journey as a patient here during a pandemic.
Yes.
How do you advise your patients to protect themselves when we're telling everybody to be careful, stay home, wear masks, especially if you're vulnerable medically, yet she has to come back for doctor's office visits? How does she protect herself?
Well, it's individual to everybody. You know, Archie has a big family, but I think her family's been very careful to not come around her if they have any sniffles or cold symptoms. And then Archie herself has been very vigilant about being careful with her mask and staying out of high-risk situations. So it's unique to each patient.
It takes a village, because Archie's family, and she's got an amazing family, had to be on board.
Correct.
And they treat her just as precious as she is.
Her family's awesome.
I want to bring in Dr. Danter. Dr. Danter, the transplant team was incredibly busy last Christmas weekend. You had 4 heart transplants over the weekend of Christmas?
Yeah, it was about, I think it was 38 hours or something like that.
38 hours over Christmas.
Yeah.
What's a typical weekend look like, let alone Christmas?
Well, a typical weekend is nothing happens, to be honest.
Right.
So more often than not, there isn't a transplant that goes on at night or on the weekends. It's almost a little bit superstition that around holiday weekends and things seem to pick up in terms of volume, but this was an exceptional sort of weekend, and it's something I haven't encountered more than once or twice in 15 years of doing this or whatever. So it was a very, very busy weekend. The best part about it all was how the team came together to get everything done, and ultimately also that everybody did really well. So that's really that's what it's all about.
Is it the same team doing all 4 transplants? Are you calling in 4 different teams? How does that work?
So remarkably, I believe there was 1 scrub nurse who did all of them and then had to do an emergency case the day after that, and the surgeon who was doing the emergency bypass case was actually the person who had flown and procured the heart. So the whole team was, with one or two people switching out, it was the same group of 10 people that take anesthesia, perfusion, nursing, and surgery.
That's incredible. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, it doesn't feel incredible at the time, as you might imagine, but
Right. But looking back,
yeah, it is
pretty cool.
You know, we kind of in heart failure do one impossible thing at a time.
Well, once you identify a heart for someone, like once you get the call that Archie's got a heart, what does the timeline look like? How fast do you have to get her in the hospital and get that heart into her?
It varies. I mean, we have people that are getting transplanted who live 4 hours away from us and need to have time to get everything organized and get in. And then we have people that are on support in the ICU that need to go as soon as humanly possible. For Archie, it was sort of, we had time to get things organized. It was more coordinating it in the context of how does the whole process fit in with everything else that was going on around that weekend, and we just sort of move through each problem as it comes up. But
And when you removed Archie's, the dud heart, we'll call it that, the dud. She deserves a good heart, and she's got one now. Could you see the damage to it?
Not dramatically, and also, you know, basically we take it out and put it in a bucket, and then we move on as quickly as possible to the next one. And we leave the sort of post-pathological diagnosis to the pathologist, because the goal is to move as efficiently as possible through the operation so that the heart's out of the body for the shortest amount of time.
So Archie, how long were you on the transplant list before you got a call that a heart was available?
Approximately 3 months.
3 months. So that's 3 months right before the holidays. You're sitting with all your grandbabies on Christmas Eve. You get the call. What's the first thing you did?
Stopped dead in my tracks. It was like we made a beeline, and everybody immediately turned around, and we shifted gears. Whoops, got to go this way now. And it went pretty smooth. We knew the day was coming, but we didn't know that day, but it worked out. It was the best present we could have received.
Were your grandkids thrilled? Were they shouting and cheering?
Yes, yes. They didn't care about Christmas at that point. Their Nana was going to be okay.
That kind of gives me goosebumps when you say that, because what a great lesson for kids to learn about the true things to be so grateful for, and the best gift of all is their Nana gets a new heart. It's just amazing. Tidra, were you there when she got the call?
That part was okay, and then they got kind of leery and worried when I actually went in the hospital and went through the process, because I still had to live through that. But yeah.
Right, there's a whole journey after you get the good news. Tidra, were you there when the phone rang and she got that call?
No, actually I was packing up, getting ready to go to the slumber party, and she called me and said, "Hey, hold on, I think they have a heart. It's KU calling me." And so she clicked me in on the call, and we got the news that they had the heart, and we could get ready and pack up and head out to KU.
Did you have time to change clothes, or did you all come in your cute pajamas?
I hadn't put on pajamas.
We hadn't quite got into the pajamas yet. We were actually on our way out the door to go to the actual slumber party, but we got that call, which kind of, like she said, stopped us in our tracks, and we had to start taking another route, doing things a little bit different.
Sure.
Shipping
just a little different.
Yeah.
But it went smoothly.
It sure did. You look fantastic. I want to ask you about the other side of things, because while everybody is celebrating that you have a new chance at life, you've also been very clear in recognizing the donor family and the loss that this other family had right before Christmas. Have you had a chance to write them a letter or reach out to them yet?
No, I actually don't know who that person is, and I'm kind of on the fence about that. I don't know. I just still got mixed emotions. I don't know. I just don't know. if it'll bring up sad feelings for them, or I don't know where I'm at with that. I'm still kind of struggling on the fence with that decision and how receptive they'll be of who actually receives that heart. It's a lot of factors for me that makes me feel, I don't know how I feel about that, honestly.
Well,
if I really want to, or if I don't. But if I don't, it's not out of non-appreciation, believe me. It's just that other things going through my head is, I don't know, how receptive we might be of each other. I'll put it like that.
That is so Archie, to be worried again about the other people in this. She wants to say thank you, but she's worried it might hurt them. I can see Dr. Danter and Jan, you're nodding your heads.
Yeah, there's no wrong answer there. Yeah. It's whatever you feel most comfortable with.
And I think the fact that you show such gratitude, and that a program like this exists for you to talk about your gratitude. If anyone watching knows someone who's had a family member they've lost and has donated their organs, this would be good to share with them of how much good it does and how it can give new life. Archie, we talked about last year's pajama party being cut short. This year, are you bringing the pajama party back?
We hope to, yeah. That's the plan anyway. And my daughter originally had a delivery date of December the 25th for the new baby. So we'll see how that goes too. So that'll be 2 new lives.
Congratulations.
Holy cow. So when we last talked to you, there were 13 grandkids. So 14 is due on Christmas Day this year?
Supposedly, yeah. You know how that goes.
Wow. That gives me goosebumps again. Talk about the full gamut of emotions from what happened last year to this year. It must be so exciting, Tidra, to have your mom back and just have her home on Christmas.
It most definitely is. You sometimes you take for granted little things, but within this year, I've learned not to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We think she owns me.
And I do.
We want to get all your questions answered for our viewers at home. Love when you send them to us. Be sure to connect with us, and you can do that in real time on Facebook, YouTube, the X platform, and the All Things Heart email. You'll find all the ways to connect with us right here on your screen. And I want to go to some questions that are already coming in right now. This is from Ruth Ellen. It's actually a COVID question. Will the COVID vaccine we're getting this fall work again for a year? Could you talk to that, Dr. Danter, or is this a question we should hold for?
Yeah, that's not my area of expertise, but yeah, I think we all sort of thought that it's going to be something that we get annually from now on moving forward.
Right, yeah. And we'll get your question, Ruth Ellen, to Dr. Hawkinson as well, because we are seeing a surge, a spike here at the health system with COVID cases coming in. Becca emailed us. Becca wants to know how Dr. Danter and the transplant team managed 4 transplants, and is that the most you've done in a weekend ever? I
think so. It's kind of strange because if you look, I think that week too, we did something like 7. So the first question is, how do we organize that? We basically do one impossible thing at a time. So you get one organized and planned, and it's kind of funny because there's actually like 3 great lies of transplant. One is the first time they tell you when you're going to go, then it's the second time they tell you when they're going to go, and then usually by the 3rd time they figured out all the moving parts and you're going to go. So you just have to stagger them. So if memory serves, we were going to do one of them before one, then it was delayed, and then we actually, so like the 3rd one ended up going 2nd, and the 2nd one ended up going 3rd. So
so the 3 lies are what you're told as doctors.
What we're told is when we're going to actually go.
Patients don't know what's happening behind the scenes. They
no, that's why we always tell them, and probably Archie can, like, this is, yeah. And I was kind of like, I just tell the patients that if I told you what time the transplant was going to start right now, the only thing you can be certain of is that would not be the time when the transplant started. Is that, but how the teams coordinated it was really special, actually. I think everybody embraced what was going on, and the OR teams and the ICU staff and everyone that was involved, and the coordinators who have to sort of move all the pieces around so that things can move smoothly, basically just sort of stepped up and performed. Like I said, the teams did not vary. It's not like there was a new team for each person, for each transplant that was being done. It's the same team with one or two people being moved out because of, they've been there for 24 hours straight or something like that. And so that part's pretty remarkable, and they deserve a lot of credit for that.
Are you all then home on Christmas Eve as well with your families, and you get the call, we got to go? Or are you knowing a couple days ahead of time, okay, this might be happening?
I'm like, yeah. My wife would remember.
Sure, she will. Your kids will remember too. You do this so often.
I think I got home for an hour or two to open presents, and then I came back, I think.
Okay. Lauren has a question for Jan. Lauren wants to know, Jan, what kind of bond do you form with working so closely with your patients?
Well, I always try to emphasize to them that their health is my priority. And I want them to feel like they can trust me, and just try to be open communication. Always try to, make sure I'm speaking to their level so that they understand what's going on. That's really important. I think patients are scared when they're going through this. So just to make sure that they really understand what's happening around them, I think that makes them feel a little more calm with everything.
Now, Archie was a nurse.
Jan's being a little modest.
Yeah,
Jan's the glue that holds it together after transplant. So
I appreciate you saying that. I try really hard. I really love what I do.
Archie, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, she was very, very spectacular, supportive, and knowledgeable, and the whole team was just marvelous. I can't express in words how great the whole experience was, from beginning to end, from the lowest person on the totem pole to the highest one. It was wonderful. I have no complaints. No complaints.
Archie, you worked as a nurse here for almost 30 years. Had you all met before in the halls? Did you know who Dr. Danter and Jan were? Did you know Archie personally ever before this?
I've seen Jane come over to the rehab occasionally. I've not ever met Dr. Danter, but I've seen Jane around, and I've spoken to her, and that was just like passing in the halls, But yeah, and she was Jane, sweet, calm, caring. Yeah.
Archie, do you call them Ladybug? I know that's what you like to call everyone.
I still use that term. Ladybug. Everybody's a ladybug.
When
I called the residents, he was a guy, called him a ladybug. He got offended. So I had to change it to dragonfly for him.
Well, and that's that's what he prefers. That's good. So you had a couple different nicknames.
But yeah, everybody's still a ladybug. And sometimes there's a reason behind that. That's because I forgot your name.
Well, when we first were told about your story, Archie, I think it was our producer Stuart, whose wife is a nurse, and he said, ask her about calling people Ladybug, because that's what you're kind of known for, is that term of endearment. Travis has a question for Dr. Danter. Travis wants to know, how sick do you have to be to qualify for a transplant? How do you figure that part out?
So you need to be at the sort of end of the life expectancy of your own heart. So it's an advanced heart failure where there's a number of objective tests that we have, sort of functional tests, as well as echocardiograms and basically a history of significant symptoms. And then based on how sick you are, there's a number of intervening therapies that we can utilize to try and get people to different therapies, or get people as much time as we can to allow for the transplant to occur. But typically, you need to be at the end of the life cycle of your own heart. And we have several options once we get there, and transplant is sort of the gold standard and the definitive therapy.
And then Bill had emailed us, wanted to know, is there ever a point when a patient is too sick for a new heart? Yeah,
I mean, that is a question that keeps a lot of us up at night because there's a lot of competing interests sometimes. I mean, usually if people are so sick, but it's just related to a reversible cause for something other than their heart, then we can typically move forward with pursuing advanced therapies if all other characteristics are suitable for transplant. But there certainly are people, you think of people with malignancies, people who've had massive neurologic insults, people who have end organs that are not likely to recover. There are definitely people that are too sick for it. And you know, in the heart failure space, they don't teach us very well to sit on our hands. And saying no is sometimes the hardest thing that we have to do. But it's also the right thing for, it's a precious resource that we have to, you know, shepherd.
And in Archie's case, she was perfect for it.
Yeah, I mean, Archie, you know, a lot of the things that stop up the transplant process or even the advanced therapy process is really social factors, so family supports, these kind of things, and that was clearly not the case with Archie.
Family support wasn't going to be a problem.
Right, I mean, yeah, was not going to be a problem, so. Yeah.
I want to bring everybody back in for some final thoughts from our guests. Archie and Tidra, I want to start with you. What's the biggest message that you want people watching to hear?
Listen to your body, okay? Don't be in denial like I was. Don't deny what you're feeling, what you're going through. Listen to your body. It's, how I want to say that. You feel like you have to be there, but if you don't take care of you, you won't be there. Just listen to your body and do what's best for you. In the long run, you'll be doing what's best for everybody, and you'll be around. And once again, I can't say how grateful I am for the whole KU staff, and I'm just grateful, 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 grateful. You guys were God sent. Thank you. Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you.
Jan, how do you respond to that?
Well, I completely agree with what Archie said. I think it's really important that patients can try to recognize how sick they are, and that's hard sometimes. They tend to ignore symptoms and put off coming to the doctor. And and as Dr. Danter said, we kind of have a window of opportunity, and we want to make sure we're not missing things. So I think it's really important for patients to say, okay, something's not right, I have to go. Quit putting this off.
Dr. Danter, anything you want to add about Archie or her family? You just start glowing a little bit when you talk about Archie's family.
Well, I just think it's great to see, you know, the family be able to get together again. It's kind of why we do all this. And it's nice because sometimes you get a little bit bogged down in the, I don't know whether we're conditioned to remember when things don't go great. So it's really nice to come out and do this and see when people are doing great and thriving. I, again, echo what Archie said. A lot of people think there aren't any options, right? I'm just getting older. I put on a little weight. I can't, you know, so what? I can't walk up the stairs. You know, these are all things that you should get checked out, because it's not like we don't have options now to help people live longer and live out of the hospital and live sort of good qualities of life. So that would be the message I'd like to send, I guess.
And Archie is living, breathing proof of all the options we have, and we love sharing all the work that our healthcare providers do here in these hospital walls of the health system. Something else we love doing, though, is showing you what life looks like for them outside of the hospital walls.
Now for a secret look into the guardians of healthcare at the University of Kansas Health System. Let's go behind the mask.
Okay, Jan, we're starting with you with this array of pictures that you shared. First of all, we know you're an animal lover, so tell us about those creatures there.
I have 2 fur babies. My dog is Parker, and my cat is Bo. And my daughter's grown, so these are
your new babies.
They've replaced her from moving out of the house.
That happened with me and my parents too. And are you also a gardener?
I do. I spend a lot of time working out in my flower beds during the summertime. It's just kind of my nice serenity place to recover from work.
And you like hiking too?
Yeah, I grew up in the mountains, so I'm always happy to be out in Colorado, and that's my happy space.
We have a picture to show that Dr. Danter submitted. This one cracks me up. Dr. Danter, you showed me this picture. I didn't have my glasses on. I thought that was a toy soldier, a little toy soldier underneath a tree. What am I looking at here?
Yeah, that's actually my 6-year-old, Alyssa, who my wife went a little nuts with the tree this year, I think. We kept unpacking it, and we're like, how does this keep getting bigger? But yeah, it's great.
It arrived in 3 6-foot boxes.
2 6-foot boxes, and yeah, so I'm up on the top of a 10-foot ladder trying to put the star on. It's quite funny.
It's beautiful, and you hear a little giggling here because Dr. Danter brought a little show and tell into our studio. So your beautiful little girls wanted to see what you did for work, and you brought them here. This is not really a typical work day,
no,
but it is fun to have your dad here. So who's joining you?
On my lap, this is Alyssa. She's 6, and Kayla is 8, and Maya is 13. Just turned 13.
Alyssa's 8.5.
Oh, right. Sorry, yes, 8.5. No, Kayla's 8.5. Alyssa is just turned 6.
And girls, are you missing school right now?
Yeah. Yes, I like the morning part.
The morning. It's an educational field trip.
Correct.
And I'm actually missing Spanish. I'm supposed to have a Spanish test.
I know.
Yeah, I'm just.
Buena suerte. We are so happy to meet you girls. Your dad talks about you so much. You must be so proud of him.
Yeah, like I think what he does is like so cool, and he's just really cool.
Aww.
Yeah, he's also a little bit of a dork, but what he does is just incredible. He's very smart.
Why is he a dork?
He
now that we have him.
Is like at home, he's kind of goofy, like 95% of the time, and. Yeah, Kayla, what do you think? He is kind of... He's goofy.
Goofy?
He's a lot. Yeah.
He saves so many lives. He and Jan are miracle workers here. So we just love having you here. So nice to finally meet you girls. We've seen lots of pictures. This has been such a fun program. And thank you so much for watching us and joining the conversation and being with us. And thank you to Archie and Tidra for sharing their journey. Archie, we're so happy for you. Coming up next week on All Things Heart, in his personal life he goes by Terry, but you may know him as Car Santa. How doctors saved his life and his legs so he could continue his mission of giving. That's Thursday at 8 a.m.
Coming up tomorrow on the Morning Medical Update. When Eric Moore reconnected with his estranged brother, he didn't know he was reviving a relationship that would ultimately save his life. I'm Jessica Lovell on the next Morning Medical Update. Family reunited and making up for lost time. The profound connection that helped treat Eric's cancer. Friday at 8.